You know the exact feeling. You decide, hey, today is the day I am finally going to get my mind right.
Oh, yeah, you get the cushion out and everything,
Right. You sit down, cross your legs, close your eyes, and try to just, empty your head.
which never works.
Never. Because 5 minutes later, your right foot is totally numb.
And your lower back is just screaming at you.
Exactly. And suddenly your brain is incredibly concerned about, like, whether you left the oven on or if you ever actually paid that parking ticket from 3 years ago.
It's the worst.
It really is. For a lot of us, the word meditation just conjures up this agonizing exercise in forced stillness.
Yeah.
You're basically fighting this losing battle against your own biology. It just feels like information overload, but internalized.
I mean, it's incredibly frustrating.
But welcome to the deep dive. We are so thrilled to have you with us today, especially if you are the kind of learner who loves gaining new knowledge quickly, but hates feeling overwhelmed by esoteric jargon.
Which is completely fair.
Because our mission today is to completely shatter your assumption of what meditation actually is.
Yeah, we are stripping away the incense, the mysticism, the vague metaphors, all of it.
Just getting down to the facts.
Right. We are looking straight at the hard biological mechanics of the human nervous system.
Which is wild.
It is. We're talking about a physical state that is so radically different from our normal waking life that, well, understanding it completely changes how we view the body.
So we're going to explore why achieving a true meditative state doesn't just mean sitting there like a stone statue.
Not at all.
It can actually involve spontaneous spinning, bursting into tears, or even executing these incredibly complex martial arts.
Yep.
And perhaps most surprisingly, we are going to look at how this exact same biological mechanism could eventually offer us a completely painless, fearless conclusion to human life.
The huge shift in perspective.
It really is. Okay, let's unpack this. To even begin to understand how meditation could possibly involve someone like shouting or throwing punches, we have to define what is actually happening in the brain.
Right.
So, biologically speaking, what is the core mechanism of a meditative state?
So it boils down to a very specific physical transfer of power inside your skull.
Okay.
Biologically, meditation is defined as the state where your consciousness remains fully awake, but your physical body is intentionally put into a sleep-like state.
Huh. Awake mind, asleep body.
Exactly. And when that happens, the micromanaging boss of your brain, the cerebral cortex, specifically the highly evolved neocortex that handles all your active thinking and worrying, it steps back.
It finally takes a break.
Right. It hands over complete control of your physical body to your non-conscious brain.
Meaning what, exactly?
That means your brainstem, your cerebellum, and your spinal cord basically take the wheel.
So the conscious mind stays online to observe, but the background operating systems take over the hardware.
Yes, that's exactly it.
To help you visualize this, think about the first time you ever activate a car's advanced self-driving autopilot.
Oh, that's a good analogy.
Right. Because you, the conscious, awake mind, you are still sitting in the driver's seat. You're looking out the windshield, completely aware of the road and the traffic around you.
But you aren't actually driving.
No. The car's internal computer has taken over the steering and the pedals. And initially, there's a lot of friction there.
Oh, absolutely.
Your hands are probably hovering right over the wheel, knuckles white, because your cerebral cortex is terrified of yielding control.
It doesn't trust the system.
Exactly. That is what beginner meditation feels like. But when you finally let go, the internal computer is doing all the driving.
And what's fascinating here is that this biological handover perfectly explains a mystery that most people never really think about when it comes to seated meditation.
Which is what?
Well, if the body is essentially asleep, why don't you fall over?
Oh, I never thought about that.
Right. I mean, if you fall asleep on an airplane, your neck muscles go slack, your head bobs, and you slump right into the person next to you.
Yeah, much to their dismay.
Exactly.
Mm.
But a monk in a deeply meditative state can sit perfectly upright for hours.
Without even swaying.
Right. And that is because the conscious mind isn't balancing them. The cerebellum, which controls posture and balance, is actively firing thousands of micro-adjustments every single second to keep the spine stacked.
So it's still working.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
The non-conscious brain hasn't shut down at all. It's working highly efficiently without the neocortex getting in the way.
And understanding that the non-conscious brain is doing all that active balancing, well, It leads to a major biological distinction
It does.
because you can actually trigger this autopilot state in two ways. The first is narrow meditation.
Which is the classic version.
Right, the traditional image. You remain completely still, and the body enters a deep, hibernation-like resting state. But the second way is broad meditation. And in broad meditation, you can actually achieve the exact same transfer of power while maintaining a constant, uniform speed of movement.
Exactly.
That could be something like walking at a steady pace or executing very slow, deliberate motions.
Because your non-conscious brain is already a master of movement. I mean, it regulates your breathing, it pumps your heart, and it digests your food without a single conscious command from you.
It's running the whole show in the background.
Right. So if the brainstem and cerebellum are perfectly capable of holding a person rigidly upright in a chair while the conscious mind just watches, we really have to look at the mechanical implications of that.
Okay, meaning what?
Well, if the non-conscious brain has full control of the muscles, what happens if it decides it needs to do more than just sit there?
Oh, I see.
Like, what happens if it decides to actually move the body?
Which brings us to a phenomenon that completely breaks the Western stereotype of the serene, quiet meditator.
It shatters it entirely.
Right. In certain Qigong traditions, there is a practice called spontaneous gong, or Zifa gong. There is also a standing still meditation called Zanzhuang.
Yes.
And in these states, practitioners don't just sit quietly. They experience completely involuntary physical movements.
It can be pretty dramatic.
Yeah, they might start swaying, spinning in circles, waving their arms, stomping their feet, jumping up and down, or falling into something that looks like an improvised dance.
And it goes well beyond just physical movement, too. The non-conscious brain will often trigger intense vocalizations and physiological shifts.
Like making noises.
Yeah, a practitioner might suddenly start shouting at the top of their lungs, laughing hysterically, or just violently sobbing.
Wow.
Their breathing might abruptly shift from a slow, shallow rhythm to rapid, heavy panting. Traditional frameworks often explain this through the concept of energy, stating that when qi flows, the form follows.
Meaning what?
Meaning the body is simply reacting to internal blockages being cleared out.
Okay, wait a minute. I have to step in here. Bursting into tears, shouting and stomping around the room.
I know it sounds.
That sounds like a complete psychological breakdown, not a meditation practice. If I walked into a room and someone was thrashing around and sobbing uncontrollably, my very first instinct would be to call a doctor.
Sure.
How on earth is a chaotic nervous system freakout supposed to be a state of deep relaxation?
Well, it looks chaotic from the outside, absolutely. But from a neurobiological perspective, it is the exact opposite of a breakdown.
How so?
It is the nervous system finally engaging in deep self-regulation. Think about how much emotional and physical tension your cerebral cortex suppresses on a daily basis.
A lot, probably.
You swallow your anger at work, you force your posture to look attentive, you lock up your jaw when you're stressed.
Constantly.
You're holding immense muscular and emotional tension all day. So when you enter that deeply relaxed meditative state and the neocortex finally relinquishes control, the brainstem and the limbic system immediately start discharging all that pent-up pressure.
So it's essentially the body's background operating system running a massive defragmentation program.
Precisely. That is exactly what it is. It is very similar to the mechanism behind somatic therapy, where trauma and stress are released through physical shaking or vocalizing.
Right.
It is not a hallucination. It is a spontaneous physical manifestation of a specific psychophysiological state. The non-conscious brain is naturally self-regulating through laughter, tears, or movement, because the conscious brain is no longer actively micromanaging it.
Because the boss is out of the office.
Exactly. The transition is described as moving out of the effortful world of constant conscious control and dropping into the effortless world, guided entirely by the innate wisdom of the non-conscious brain.
The effortless world. That's a great phrase. Even in Zanzhuang, which involves just standing completely still like a tree, practitioners will involuntarily start trembling or swaying.
Yep, the tension just has to go somewhere.
The conscious mind steps back and the nervous system immediately starts shaking off the tension. But if the brainstem's natural inclination is just to vent pressure in these wild, unpredictable ways, it brings up an incredibly compelling mechanical challenge.
Which is?
Well, spontaneous gong is pure, unscripted release. Can we train the autopilot? Is it actually possible to have the non-conscious brain execute highly structured, disciplined movements without the conscious brain taking over again?
It is, actually, and this is the biological secret behind Tai Chi.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we often view Tai Chi purely as a martial art or, a gentle exercise for seniors, but at its core, it is a highly refined form of broad meditation.
Broad meditation, right?
Because you're moving. Exactly. It is the practice of programming the non-conscious brain to move with precise structure.
Here's where it gets really interesting, because looking at Tai Chi through this biological lens changes everything. There are 3 distinct stages to mastering it.
Right.
In the beginner stage, there is absolutely nothing effortless about it.
It is so clunky.
It really is. You
Mhm.
are using heavy, clunky, conscious control. Your neocortex is burning massive amounts of glucose, trying to remember where your left foot goes, how to shift your weight, and how to hold your arms.
It's exhausting.
You are mimicking an instructor, and it feels completely rigid.
Because the conscious brain is a terrible driver for complex, fluid, physical tasks. It is just too slow.
Yeah.
But as a practitioner moves into the intermediate stage, the neural pathways begin to solidify. The movements start to smooth out. In traditional language, the movement is now being guided by intention, or yi, rather than brute muscular force.
It's getting easier.
Right. It begins to feel somewhat automatic, but the conscious mind is still sitting in the front seat, nervously directing traffic and making sure the sequence is correct.
Still kind of hovering over the steering wheel.
Exactly.
But then comes the advanced stage, the state of Wu Wei, which translates to effortless action.
Yes.
At this point, the actions arise completely naturally without any conscious planning whatsoever. It is a seamless fusion of reflex and intention.
Beautiful to watch.
It is. To really picture how this works, think about the difference between a toddler running wildly across a backyard and an Olympic gymnast executing a flawless gold medal floor routine.
Oh, I like that comparison.
The toddler is spontaneous gong, totally free, automatic, unpredictable movement.
Just pure chaos.
Right. But the gymnast is operating in Wu Wei. Both are moving automatically. The gymnast is not consciously thinking, like, okay, now I will fire my left calf muscle, now I will tuck my chin.
They fall over if they did.
Exactly. But the gymnast's effortless movement is built on thousands of hours of conscious programming.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture, Wu Wei perfectly encapsulates the biological reality of the flow state.
Oh, like being in the zone.
Yes. In advanced Tai Chi, the non-conscious brain, specifically the cerebellum, which stores our complex motor patterns, it takes the intricate sequences that the conscious brain painfully taught it over years of practice. It then executes those sequences with a continuity and softness that the conscious mind could never achieve on its own. The neocortex is simply too jagged and reactive.
Too much stop and go.
Right. This is a rhythm-sustained principle. It is the exact same biological mechanism that allows long-distance runners to hit a runner's high, or allows a steady walk to become a profound, moving meditation. You establish the rhythm, the brainstem takes the wheel, and the conscious mind gets to sit back and observe the effortless perfection of the body.
So you put in the brutal, conscious, hard work up front so that eventually you can just let go and let the body perform perfectly.
Exactly.
But letting go of the steering wheel carries a biological risk.
Yeah.
We've established how incredible it is when the non-conscious brain takes over. But what happens if there's a glitch in the software?
Oh,
Like, what happens if the conscious mind wants to take the steering wheel back, but the brainstem refuses to let go?
That is the crucial safety parameter of all these states. The essential condition of any meditation, whether you are sitting still or moving through a Tai Chi form, is that the conscious mind must be able to resume normal control of the nervous system at any given moment.
You need an emergency brake.
Right. And when a practitioner loses that ability, when they are trapped in that non-conscious, effortless state and cannot regain conscious muscular control at will, traditional frameworks call this Zuhuo Mo.
Which means what?
It loosely translates to energy deviation or catching fire.
Catching fire. Wow. That sounds incredibly esoteric, almost like something out of a fantasy novel.
It does sound magical, but biologically, it is a very real mechanical failure between the two brain states. And we actually see it in everyday passive biology.
Like what?
Look at sleepwalking, where the non-conscious brain is up and moving the body, but the conscious mind is totally absent.
Right, that is a classic glitch.
Or, even more terrifying, look at sleep paralysis. During REM sleep, your brainstem floods your body with neurotransmitters like GABA and glycine to paralyze your muscles so you don't act out your dreams.
Okay, so it locks you down.
Right. But in sleep paralysis, your conscious neocortex wakes up, but the brainstem fails to flip the switch. It keeps the body locked down in chemical paralysis. You are fully awake, but you cannot move a single muscle.
That is awful.
It's terrifying. But that is a profound loss of conscious control, and it demonstrates exactly what happens when the barrier between the effortful and effortless worlds malfunctions.
That is a terrifying biological glitch. You are just trapped inside your own hardware.
Pretty much.
But understanding that extreme edge of control sets the stage for a much larger and frankly heavier concept.
Yeah.
We rarely talk about the ultimate biological transition in modern wellness culture, but we have to look at what happens when the body doesn't just hand over control temporarily, but permanently.
Right.
The concept of zuohua, or sitting transformation, this is quite literally the process of dying while in a state of deep meditation.
And to really understand how revolutionary this is, we have to look at the biology of normal death.
Okay.
Usually, as the body's systems begin to fail, oxygen levels drop, and the sympathetic nervous system kicks into massive overdrive.
The fight or flight response.
Yes. It floods the body with adrenaline and cortisol. It creates a state of intense panic, physical pain, and profound terror as the brain desperately tries to keep the organism alive. That is the biological reality of dying for most mammals.
That sounds horrific. But the meditative state intercepts that entire biochemical process.
Exactly. When a highly advanced practitioner enters deep meditation, they are actively suppressing the sympathetic nervous system. They drastically reduce their neural activity and sensory input.
They turn down the volume.
Right. And at the same time, they hyperactivate the parasympathetic nervous system, which is the rest and repair system governed largely by the vagus nerve. By consciously shifting the nervous system into this deep parasympathetic dominance, they biochemically block the release of those panic hormones. Blood flow is optimized, endorphins replace cortisol, and the heart rate slows down to a gentle rhythm.
So what does this all mean? For you, the listener, we completely understand that death is an uncomfortable, often taboo topic.
Yeah, it's not easy to talk about.
No. Our modern Western framework usually associates the end of life with sterile hospitals, invasive machines, and events fear. But the biological mechanics we are talking about today reframe meditation as something infinitely more powerful than just like a morning routine to help you focus on your emails.
Oh, absolutely.
It is a physiological tool to completely eliminate fear at the very end of life. Because the nervous system has been actively shifted away from the panic response, Zuaha generates a profound feeling of safety, warmth, and tranquility. It is the body naturally producing its own blissful, fearless transition.
And this raises an important question about our entire trajectory of aging. By practicing this biological shift every day, training the body to move out of fight or flight and drop effortlessly into rest and repair, we are doing so much more than lowering our blood pressure.
We're rewiring the system.
We are fundamentally altering how our nervous system perceives pain and fear. The mastery of this biological handover is what allows a practitioner to not only live with immense physical grace, but to approach the end of their life without the terror that our biology usually demands of us.
It radically changes the stakes of why we practice. We have covered a massive amount of physiological ground today. We completely redefined meditation, moving it away from the idea of just sitting still and fighting your thoughts.
A total paradigm shift.
Yeah. We now know it is the intentional biological handover of control from the conscious, overcaffeinated cerebral cortex down to the ancient, highly capable brainstem and cerebellum. We explored how that handover can result in the wild somatic releases of spontaneous gong, where the body literally shakes off its trauma. We saw how years of grueling conscious practice can refine that autopilot into the cultivated, flawless movement of Tai Chi in the Wu Wei flow state.
The effortless world.
And finally, we looked at the ultimate application of this control, overriding the biology of panic to achieve the profound, fearless peace of Zuohua.
It is a stunning look at what the human nervous system is truly capable of when the conscious mind stops trying to dominate every single sensation.
Which brings us to a very clear, very urgent call to action. Do not wait until you're overwhelmed or facing the end of your life to figure out how your nervous system works.
Start today.
Right. Start practicing this biological handover now. Sit down, let the non-conscious brain take the wheel, and learn to live fully in the present so you can age gracefully and eventually leave the world with absolute peace in your heart.
And as you go about your day, there's one final provocative thought we want to leave you with. We have spent this entire deep dive looking at the incredible, flawless competence of a non-conscious brain when it is allowed to operate freely.
It's amazing what it can do.
It really is.
Oh.
So if deeply meditative states simply hand physical control back to our incredibly capable brainstem and cerebellum, well, it forces us to look critically at the modern human condition.
What do you mean?
Think about our modern epidemic of physical clumsiness, of chronic shoulder tension, of constantly tripping over our own feet, and the relentless mental burnout we all feel.
Yeah, that's everywhere.
Could it be that all of this physical and mental exhaustion isn't due to a lack of effort or a lack of exercise? Could it simply be our stubborn, egotistical refusal to let go of the wheel?
Oh, wow.
What else might your body do perfectly if your conscious mind just got out of the way?
It really makes you rethink that incredibly frustrating image we started with, doesn't it? Sitting on a cushion, letting your leg go numb, well, it doesn't have to be an agonizing battle for control. It might just be the very first step in finally learning how to let go.